once again, a round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm really excited to meet all of you. So let's just get right into it, right? So Papa, as founder and creative director of a white space creative agency, with over 10 years of experience in building world-class brands, right? We're going to kick off with the most basic question for the benefit of the audience. What is branding and how important is it to the success of a business?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see such a large audience here. I think for me, I don't like the word branding, even though I know it's a very buzzword. But I do think the most important thing with any brand is knowing who you are. I think that is the most critical thing that separates you from your competitors. We're all individuals. We all have very distinctive ideas of what we think, what we like, and how we want to express that, whether it's Simi's magazine or the way Michael shoots. And that understanding of self and who you are, what you stand for, and what is beautiful to you, and how you want to express that, that is the only thing for me that defines what branding is. The best brands in the world are the ones that have the strongest sense of identity. So what branding to me, branding is about an expression of personality in the most concise and self-assured way.
That's amazing. That's a very good answer. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? Mikey, Simi? Yeah, I said it all.
I'll just say branding for me is more or less like your signature. Right. So to put it in photography, it's a thing where if you see my photo, you don't need to check the caption. You already know I shot it just because of how, my style and my niche. Yeah. So I feel like branding for me, I define branding as your signature.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mikey. Is your mic on? You need to press the button.
Okay, yeah. Papa and Mikey kind of said everything, but I'll just say that when it comes to branding, it's actually quite personal. I feel people kind of think about it in a professional life, but it's personal to you. It's something that you have to go away and kind of think, okay, what is it exactly that I'm trying to communicate with my customers, with my audience? What is important? The look and feel, things like that. So I would say for me, branding is very personal, and you have to kind of figure it out by yourself first before you go out and speak to people about the said brand you're trying to build.
That makes sense. Thank you so much for that, Simi. So still on you, Simi, I love SCHICK magazine so much.
Thank you.
So much. The imagery, the feel, it just oozes class. And if you put a copy of SCHICK on the table next to other Nigerian magazines, SCHICK always stands out.
Thank you.
Always. So my question to you is, how were you able to differentiate SCHICK as a brand so well from the numerous other magazine brands in Nigeria?
Okay. Thanks, Jide. That was quite a compliment.
You're welcome.
Okay, so in the beginning of SCHICK, what I'll say is I had been thinking about creating this magazine, and I remember that when it came to differentiating how I wanted the magazine to look or feel like, I thought to myself, what was it that I wanted to see when I was much younger? So I would go back and think to myself, okay, what's important? I know that for me, it was very important for us to be celebrating African style and celebrating us as a person. So when I put the magazine together, I thought, okay, what would a young person want to see? So things like that kind of stood out for me, the imagery. Another big thing that played to us differentiating the magazine was our size. A lot of the magazines that you see, even globally, and some of the magazines you see locally, they're quite big. They're much bigger than our size. And we kind of created a magazine, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but a copy of SCHICK can go into any bag. It was very, very important that you could carry carry the magazine in your bag, because of course, with our day-to-day lives in Nigeria, we're juggling so many things. We're moving up and down, going from an Uber or whatever. So it was very important that you could have it as a carry-on. So that's one of the distinct things about the magazine. It's very easy to carry on, and you can take it almost anywhere with you.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Thank you, Simi. The intentionality that goes into thinking about the size of the print and thinking about how people would use your magazine every day is amazing. It's really brilliant. So thank you for sharing that. So we're going to take a pause now because Buchi has joined us. Hi, Buchi. Welcome, Buchi. Really nice to have you here now. Mikey, you're currently speaking to the biggest J. Cole fan on this side of the continent. And you took his pictures. That was the first thing I saw when I did your research, that you took J. Cole's pictures. He took J. Cole's pictures, guys. And I have been following his music since he was in St. John's University. It's like for 12 years now. I'm the biggest fan. And I think it's the most amazing thing that you not only just took the opportunity to take pictures of him, but you also took great pictures of him. And I think that it's really amazing. So I have a question for you. Was that sheer luck, you just being in the right place at the right time? Or was that intentional work you put into your brand to position yourself as the right photographer for the job?
Okay, I'll start by saying what I've observed before, like my photography journey. So for Nigeria, I've observed that you are treated differently when you have Western validation. So what that means for me is, if I'm here and I was born here and I live here and I've been shooting, everything under the sun here, and somebody else comes and the person has accolades from abroad, in this same country where I'm from, there will be preferential treatment to that person than myself, right? Definitely. It's the game. I'm just saying this is what I observed, right?
Yeah.
So for me, starting, I was like, I sat down to be like, okay, who are the greats here? I know since I've been a child here, I know that I've been small. T.Y. Bella has been taking pictures. Kelechi Shamadi has taken pictures. So I saw them right here. I said, okay, who are the greats abroad? I looked at David LaChapelle, I looked at Matthew Marcus, I looked at those ones. So what do they have in common, them and here? So they use celebrities mostly to give them, to make their pictures go viral. So it's when your photo has virality that people will now, the everyday people will know who shot this person, right? So my niche is fashion photography. It's not really celebrity photography. It's not really my thing. So I would say I decided when I left Niger, early in February, and leaving that, when I mean leaving Niger, so there's usually no, this is crazy to say, but it's not really a plan. So what I mean by that is I just work here, get the money and go and look for work there. It's the truth. I'm being very honest. Because whenever I come to things like that, I don't want to I always want to be very honest so that people won't look at me and think, oh my God, I'm just out here getting jobs. No, you go there and you look for work. So, and what I noticed there is they have a culture of networking across. So here is more or less who do I know that's already up there, right? But there it's more or less okay, who is this person's assistant stylist? Not even the stylist, assistant stylist, because you know that if that assistant stylist keeps working, she's going to be a stylist to somebody one day. So literally, my growth in the industry, I would just say, is based off of relationships. I've always it's because if you think about it, it's photography, and not that anybody can take a picture, but it can be anybody, right? So it's just based on who you are, if they like you, if you're good. So shooting J. Cole, it came up as I've been friends with this stylist for a while, back when she was still trying to figure out what she was doing. We collaborated on a project together, no money, we'll just bring clothes, I'll take picture, that's how we'll do it from the jump, right? So it now got to the opportunity where she was styling Bia, because the video I shot was Bia and J. Cole. So she was styling Bia, not even J. Cole, right? So Bia's team had their own photographer. J. Cole's team had their own photographer. It was a tight set. Nobody was supposed to. It was you already go there with the, I never go with a defeated demeanor. Sorry. So I always just go see, just give me one. I just need 5 minutes, literally. So she had to speak to the production that, oh, please, this is my photographer as a stylist. I just want images of the clothes. In 20 minutes, I shot everything I did there.
Amazing.
And I left, And it's so funny how like, and I don't try to shade the other photographers because, so my photos were what they used for promo. And I got paid extra because although they had her own photographer and the rest of them, I was like, it was my photos they used just because they liked the eye. So to go back to your question, this long story I've given, it's not really sheer luck. I believe in positioning myself because, like I said earlier, I checked what Kelechi Amadi T.Y. Bello did, David LaChapelle. Everybody knows like he's famous for his celebrity portraits. Do you get what I mean? So I knew that, okay, on my page, although it's fashion that I love, I need these jobs to get me the buzz. So
that's an amazing answer. Thank you so much for your honesty. What I heard you say was that you did your research, you looked at strategy, you built strategy based off what you found, you worked for free, you did the hard work of putting yourself in that position, and that's an amazing thing. And I think it's very necessary when you're trying to build a product, build a brand, and to differentiate yourself, position yourself. That work is really required. The research, the strategy, the planning, the execution, all of that is really, really required. So thank you for that, Mikey. Onyebuchi.
You can call me Buchi.
Buchi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And I'm very sorry I was late.
It's fine. We forgive you. So, Buchi, I read I Didn't Cry. And if you haven't read it, guys, please go and read it right now. No, not right now, after this talk, please. But it is such a beautiful story.
Thank you.
It is a beautiful, moving story about hurt, kindness, and forgiveness. And it's no surprise that the writer of such an amazing story is a communication specialist who has handled communication for many world-class brands. So my question is, can you explain to the audience how important communication, your brand voice, your brand tone, your brand message, your brand promise is when it comes to branding, positioning, and differentiation?
I think communications is very much the centerpiece. So I think one of the questions that they'd asked us to look at was the difference between positioning and brand. And if I had to break it down, I would say that your brand is who you are, but your positioning is what you do. So you will have a brand, and your brand can be very sexy, it can be sleek, it can be blue, red. Your style can be very specific. You've been able to have a distinct visual identity. But your positioning are those decisions and the activities that you take. So your decision to leave Nigeria, that in itself is a positioning. Your decision to work for free, your decision to network beyond just the top pillars of a specific industry. All of those things are very key. In the same way, your decision to price yourself at a specific level, that is part of your position. So all of these things help to determine your brand. The access to your product, you might decide that your product is exclusive. You don't want it to be mass market, that's a decision. But ultimately, your brand's ability to actually live up to that promise really does then depend on the product. So if you say that you have a brand that's premium, that's high value, but then the brand itself or the product itself doesn't live up to it, there's a mismatch, and I think that the consumer is confused. But to the point that you were asking about communications, so it's everything. So it's determining what is the most optimal way for me to target my own stakeholders, my own audience. And your audience isn't everywhere. And I always see this happen when people are marketing for the first time. They make a mistake of thinking that noise is value, where really you really have to be very strategic, right? And I remember being young and hearing people say, oh, Rolls-Royce don't advertise. They never advertise. And I grew up believing this myth. But then you get to a level and you start reading specific magazines and you start going to specific hotels and you realize they actually do market, but they understand their audience. So you won't see them on DSTV because their market is not there. It's $500,000 to one of their cars. And so they know exactly where their audience is. And I think that's important. So all of these things I think are key, but you're not able to actually do them unless you understand how to communicate or you understand who your audience is, where they are, where to find them, and the types of things that resonate.
Thank you, Onyebuchi. That's Buchi, sorry. Thank you for the answer. It was really clear. Does anybody get that? Was that clear to you? Right, great. So I'm going to move on to Papa now. And Papa, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. Started my own graphic design business when I was still in university. I built a team. We're now a design strategy team. And we work with various brands across Nigeria. We focus mainly on startups because you want to build for the future. And we, one of the things we face, one of the things we see with a lot of like clients is that they don't want to invest in branding from the jump. They think, oh, my business is too small. I'm not making enough money. Like, why am I paying for a logo or paying for? I can just start my business. They don't see the value in it. And I think that I know that you have more experience than I do, and that's why I'm pushing this question to you. So the question is that what would you say the major roadblock for most startup founders is when they start their branding journey, and how do you think, or what can you say to them if they are here in the audience with us, right? What can you say to them to help them overcome that roadblock? Because it's a really interesting situation, and I really want to hear what you have to say on it.
I think Nigeria is it's quite a unique place, and there's a couple of things. One is an understanding of the value of the brand, which is why I think that there's a tendency to just say brand without actually understanding what it means. But there's also just an economic factor, right? Where, especially when businesses are starting out, they're looking at their spreadsheets and they're looking at, the lowest hanging fruit and the things that they want to spend their money on. And because they don't have a real understanding and a direction, because mostly when people start businesses, it's very transactional. There's that culture of ABC, right? Which is always be closing. But the reality, what businesses should always think about is ABB, always be building, right? And when you're in a mentality of ABB, you understand the importance of the journey of whatever it is that you're doing. And all journeys have to have a story, and as you think about the way the world is now and how important storytelling is in terms of how to not just convey message, but also to allow transactions, people want to feel connected with brands. They want to feel connected with products. We think about, what's happening now in sort of disruption in the banking industry with the fintechs, and how a lot of these fintech startups have been able to sort of take space because they've been able to communicate, in a ways that traditional banks have not been able to communicate. So I think what a lot of startup organizations and all businesses need to understand is what understanding who you are first and foremost, and how important the story of who you are and the story of your brand is going to have a much more of a multiplying effect if you start that journey early on, and allows you to plan your vision and also to track your vision. So when people are doing businesses and you're going into those rooms, I think the question you should always ask them is like, look, what are you doing? What is it that you're trying to do? What are you trying to build? And you'll be surprised how many people have not been asked that question. And something that we do a lot, in my experience, there's a tendency to go into as a branding specialist, or even as a professional that is offering a service. You go in to meet somebody and you want to give them answers immediately.
You want to sell.
You want to sell. And I'm very much against that. What I want to do is I want to ask you questions. And I want you to answer those questions. I'm not here to sell. I'm here to help you understand who you are and what you need. And only if you do that, then I can do my job. Because if you go into a space and all you're doing is selling, and you're selling something to somebody who does not even understand who they are and what they need, you're never going to be successful. And I think as businesses as well, when you're starting up, when you're so focused on ABC, from that transactional point of view, your business, the legs in your business, they're going to wobble after a while. So that's really my experience and my advice.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. So guys, I hope you heard ABB, always be building, not ABC, always be closing. So I hope you wrote that down. Thank you so much, Papa. So Simi, back to you. Did you have any mentors that instilled the importance of branding, differentiation, positioning in you when you were starting your business for the first time?
I think mentors are very important. I know in this side of town, people have all sorts of experiences with mentors, but I'll say from my experience, starting out, one of my biggest mentors, and still is my mentor today, is Mrs. Balata from UBA. She, had a magazine for, I believe it was 25 years, True Love magazine, that she was running. And, I knew that she would be good in helping me navigate a magazine in this side of town. And I was very fortunate to have met her. And I shared my vision with her, my thoughts with her. And she helped me navigate in terms of branding and positioning. And I'll tell you one of the key things she actually told me. So at the time when I was working for Complete Fashion, we were selling magazines on the road. And I remember Mrs. Atta telling me, Simi, you might want to think about direct distribution. And because of her today, we sell the magazines in shops. We don't actually sell them on the road. So again, a mentor is very important, and I've seen that is very useful in my line of work.
Thank you for that, Simi. So for the sake of the audience, I want to ask all everybody here, if you'll be able to create some time to mentor anybody that might need mentorship. Because I started my business, again, like I said earlier, as a student, not knowing what I was doing, making a ton of mistakes, not having anybody to call to or to ask for advice. So I made so many mistakes, and I had to learn things the hard way. And we're still building a really small team. And I know that if I had someone I could reach out to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just can you have 5 minutes of your time? Can I just ask you a question? Can you just help me, guide me in this? To help me avoid some of these mistakes, it would have been so much easier. And I'm trying to, I know there are entrepreneurs here, I know there are startup founders here, and I know that you are looking to everybody sitting on the stage as someone who has done what you are trying to do, right? So if you need those 5 minutes, I'm pleading on their behalf to please make yourself available. They will not spam you. They will not disturb your life. They will just try to get as much information as they can, as quickly as they can. Because I know that would have helped me, and I'm sure that will help a lot of people as well. So thank you.
I'm up for it, please.
Thank
Anyone
you for that,
that has any questions or mentorship, I'm up for it.
Okay, thank you so much, Simi. So Mikey. Yeah. Mikey, how important a role? So before I even ask you this question, let me think about it, right? The world has become super digital now. So people don't necessarily even see products to access it, to touch it, to feel it, to flip through it, right? What do they see? They see pictures and videos. And you might have a great product, like an amazing product, but you take your pictures in your Nokia camera phone and you put it up on Instagram and you're making 0 sales and you're like my product is great. How do these people see it, right? I know you're super professional. I know you probably helped businesses grow with your photography. So I want to ask you, in your own words, like what would you say the importance of good photography is in this day and age when it comes to building a business?
Okay, before I answer that, sorry, you asked about the mentorship thing. So I was fortunate enough to have a mentor, but also for those who don't have mentors, it's important for you to have honest friends. So what I mean by that is...
That's legit.
People who are not afraid to tell you the truth. I feel like that is the most important thing, because I feel like every human being has some level of delusion. So you can believe that your thing is the best in the world, and nobody's saying don't have confidence. I'm not saying that. But it's important to have honest people who are not afraid to tell you the truth. So let's look at it. This is your bottle. This packaging, can I do it well? Not that. I rather learn there than you now post it online and then you're reading reviews. They will hurt more. So I wanted to just say that.
Definitely. Thank you for that.
So to your question, I'll even start by saying, like, during the pandemic, right? You don't want to know. So people were saying they didn't have jobs. So my business is putting people's work online. So during the pandemic, everybody's business is online. So
Facts.
I was ×5 busy shooting because everybody needs to be online, right? So in my line of work, I've seen people not pay at. I'll give you just a small story. This was my first year in photography. A client came on my page, saw this particular shoot I did, and she was like, okay, for her brand, she wants the exact same thing. So bear in mind, if you come to my page and I did this, you best believe I can do the exact same thing, right? So she hired a friend, not a model, didn't pay really good attention to hair or makeup. The clothes were not ironed. No, I'm trying to explain what I mean by that. So I always say the camera is like a mirror. I'm not Jesus.
That's deep, yeah.
It's what you give me, I give you back. Do you understand? So understand that what I can only do is highest, lighten it well, sharpen it. Like, I cannot make this bottle ever. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
No, because in this country, people have some sort of expectations when they come and email you and tell you they want to work.
Right.
So what I'll say is, think about it like this, why the importance of picture, because you don't see your audience. So Instagram now, Reels, their ads are everywhere. Now nobody can escape ads. If you go on YouTube to watch a video, you have to skip like 7 or 8 ads are everywhere right now.
Yeah.
People sometimes say you talk something and you say something and you see it on Instagram already. Ads are everywhere. So what I mean by that is, think about it as your, how do I explain this now? Think about it as your language to your brand. So if I see this bottle now and the picture is really great, I cannot taste it, right? But if it's presented well, I will buy. Kim Kardashian more or less sold out perfume once upon a time without people. So it sold out online without people smelling it because the packaging was well. Do you understand? So I say things like that in the sense of like, if you don't spend money on that, when you go shopping and you see things, it's what appeases your eye you go and buy. Sure. So I always like to tell my clients that, listen, this money you might say it's expensive, you might say it's a lot, but look at what it's doing for you, because if you package yourself as something good, it will everybody likes good things. Do you get them? Everybody likes things that are appeasing to them. So if your stuff is not really great, it won't. There's no magic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's valid. Thank you so much, Mikey. Does anybody else have anything to add?
I mean, I feel like we want to know what happened in that story where the clothes were great.
Well, how did the pictures come out?
No, the pictures came out, like I said, horrible. And it was like the first year. This till now, I still have some sort of PTSD from that whole situation. So I'll tell you what I mean by that is, if I finish shooting you now, right, and you go home, and then I send the pictures to you. So from the minute I send you the pictures to your response,
Anxious.
I'm anxious. My heart is beating.
Yeah.
And that client, bless her, it was a whole thing because she was not really like, I don't like it. I don't like how this thing looks. But I'm like, dear, this is what you like. Do you know what I mean? So like, if you had taken time to maybe cast a model, ironed your clothes, done professional hair and makeup, we would not have the same conversation, because once upon a time, you came on my page and saw something that I did that you liked, and those people put in the time and the effort. So everybody can see when something is tacky. They do what I mean. Like, you can't really package it well. If something is tacky, you would know.
Yeah, you can't hide it. So thank you guys. Okay, so the next question is for Buchi. So I penned down this question for you specifically because I know that you have managed teams, and I know you've managed teams over a long period of time. And I have managed teams too, not very successfully, but like I have tried. I've tried my best. I really tried really hard. But one of the things I found that is a huge problem is that you can set out with brand goals. You can set out with like an army, like a soldier marching, like everybody learn this, everybody do this. When your team is at 4 people or 2 people, easy for them to all fall in line and all build your brand for you the way you want it to be built, right? But what happens when you start to scale? What happens when you open up a different branch, right? How do you sustain those brand goals, even though you are growing and your team is growing in this very fast-paced world? What ways can you advise young startups to start to plan ahead and think, okay, how do I navigate this when the time comes?
So I think the first thing will be to first of all know what those goals are. And it seems pretty obvious, but a lot of people don't actually know what their goals are. They're not quite sure why they're here, what their purpose is. So first of all, understanding who you are and what your goals are is critical. then you want to transform that into a culture. Because you can have a goal, but really, what does that mean in reality, day to day? As an individual coming into a business, you tell me, okay, we want to put a man on the moon. Great, NASA will do that. But what does that mean for me walking into the building? You have to create a culture. And creating a culture, like you say, if five of us on this stage decide that we're going to be a business, it'd be easy for us to have a culture that's strong, that's fit, but then we add 5 more people, we add 10 more people, it becomes more difficult. So one of the things that is critical is hiring. And I think that if you're able to get your hiring right, that's 70% of the job. So you have to say, okay, so if I know what my goals are and I understand what culture I'm trying to espouse, what does that look like in an individual? So the roles will differ. Marketing, I need a specialist. HR, I need a specialist. But there are going to be 4 or 5 values that you want in every single individual, and that can't change. And you'll get it wrong because people interview well. God, I know
That's
that.
true. That's true.
So you will get it wrong. But so long as you're clear, you will start to see when people deviate from that culture. So that's one of the things. I think you get your hiring right. You want to then incentivize and reinforce those types of goals and those types of cultures. You can't say that you're an honest brand when you're rewarding people who are doing underhanded things simply because they're achieving the objectives that you wanted them to.
That's true.
So it's you making sure that the things that you're rewarding are the things that you said were the most important thing. And the third one is probably a little bit more difficult because as you start to scale, your time is considerably oversubscribed. So it's being present. So I have a friend who's started off with a very small business, and I won't say even the type of business, just in case it becomes clear. And she grew very fast and very successfully. But the problem was that she was never in any of these businesses. And so you walk into it, and you walk into one specific one, and because of the manager there, you got a great experience. But you walked into another, and the experience is considerably different. Now, it's harder for you to be present, but you have to figure out a way. It may very well be by proxy. It may be by training. It may be by, like I say, these rewards. You have to figure out something that works, that allows you to be present in your businesses, because it will spoil your markets. It's just that simple.
Yeah, they
and
would.
The dream that you had will just go up in flames.
Yeah. Papa, you want to add something to it?
Yeah, and it's a weird thing, how important culture is. We have this thing in my office where, like, it's very much like, look, you don't need to be here. I feel there's this tendency for people to be very nervous, especially when they're in employment, and I'm always saying to people, like, look, if you don't if you don't get what's happening here and it's not of interest to you, there's no point you being here, And I think once you create a culture where the people that are there really, really want to be there, it makes such a huge difference. One of the other things that we try and do is to create really strong and efficient systems. So, the onboarding exercise where you have really strong handbooks to take people through processes about, X, Y, and Z. The brand Bible for any business should be the foundation point of, how we speak, the kind of things that we do and don't do, the kind of things we like and don't like.
Kind of images?
Yeah, the kind of images. And one of the things I find really effective is about sharing your vision, And that can be in, like, these are the kind of movies I like. These are the kind of, in my book, in my office, we have a reading list, right? Okay. And the idea is that if you're working here, you should be reading some of these books, because it's really hard to just be like, oh, yeah, I have this idea, when that idea comes from an experience you've had. And you always need to think about, how do I communicate this experience? How do I share these experiences? Yeah. And I think creating systems, references, books, videos that you're constantly trying to share in order for the brand to sort of exist on its own. Yeah. So there's a really strong culture of we know who we are. I think the best people to do that really, really well are the Germans and the Japanese. When you think about really strong Japanese brands, whether it's Mr. Bushi, Sony, etc., they have, like, within their systems, I have a friend that used to work at Mr. Bushi and used to be like, oh, I can't do that. It's not the Mr. Bushi way. And I used to be like, I don't understand what that means.
What's
but
the definition?
that's the language that they speak.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add.
Thank you so much for that. Simi, you want to say something as well?
Yeah, just piggybacking off what Papa said about the brand Bible. So very early on at SCHICK as well, we have a brand Bible, and the brand Bible pretty much is just a document that kind of shows you how we go about decision making, the mission, the vision, what it is we're trying to do, how to communicate in your emails, just your day-to-day of how you can run the magazine if, for instance, I wasn't there. So a brand Bible is important. Now, another story I wanted to quickly share was just piggybacking off what Buchi said, was with the hiring. So I remember, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago, we had a really great member of our team, very effective, but she failed to follow the culture. She struggled so many times. One of our big things in our organization is honesty and transparency. And she always struggled with, little things like, I don't know, maybe she was coming into work at 10 o'clock. I don't mind you saying you're coming to work at 10 o'clock, but she would lie. And I struggled with still keeping her on, despite the fact that she was doing great work. And I had to speak to myself as a founder and say, look, if I keep her on, she's going to sabotage everything I've worked for because she's going to influence the rest of the team. So I had to let her go. And that is me making sure that I'm preserving that culture that we're building and the brand that we're building. So if you see something that goes far away from what it is you're trying to build, don't shy away from letting that thing go if it's going to compromise what you're building.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. Those were wonderful answers. Okay, so my next question is for everybody, and to a certain degree, each person has kind of talked about a life experience that taught them about branding or helped them understand the value in it. But I want us to if you can think of one story, one real life experience. Mikey has talked about the woman that ironed the clothes, but I think that we need to. I want us to share this real life experiences with everybody in the audience so that they can relate to it, because they might have gone through something similar in their business building process, and they might be able to learn from your story. So I really want us to each of us take turns to talk about a real life experience that showed you guys the value of branding. Who wants to go first? Should we start from Buchi?
You might need to go around and come back. So I'm a little bit different in that I consult for organizations that have brands. So any stories that I have will belong to someone else and me wanting to maintain that confidentiality. But I've worked with multiple organizations that have gone through crisis. And I think that at crisis time, that's when you know how strong your brand is. It's almost a litmus test. So you're building and building and building. And every time you're building, and I'm doing this in lieu of an example because I'm not sure that I can. Every time you're building, it's almost like you're putting money in a bank. You're putting brand equity into a bank and you're saying, you know what, I'm building up my brand and I'm strengthening my brand. And so when you have a disaster, so God forbid your child is sick or God forbid your roof blows off, you go and you withdraw from it. Now, if you don't build and you don't have anything in the bank and you're withdrawing, you have a deficit, which means your brand is done. And so I think for me, it's just making sure that as you're building a brand, that you're considering that everything you do, the goodwill, the customer engagements, and all the things that you do, you're adding something to your brand that you will probably need to take one day. I remember one time there was a little bit of a scandal on Twitter where one of these fintechs was accused of something, and I won't go too much into detail. And even before they came with a response, all of their customers came and said, no, that's not true. We've had great experiences. That's brand equity. That's your reputation speaking for you. So that's very important.
Thank you, Buchi. Mikey?
I have a story. So
I like your stories.
I always like to credit Tokyo James in my career and my journey. What I mean by that is, so prior to me meeting him and me meeting him, there's a difference. So he taught me about how, as a photographer, or I was even say as a brand as well, look at your Instagram or your social media as your resume. So how I arrange my Instagram is, I assume, okay, if an winter wants to check a Nigerian photographer now, this is what she will see. Prior to that, I used to just post. I was I'll just post for posting sake. Just be like, me, I'm busy. You see what I'm doing. I'm posting. Do you get what I mean? So I was posting any and every. So if you come on my page, you see wedding, you see passports, you see I was shooting any and every, because in Nigeria you have to shoot any and every to survive. That's number one. I'll keep it real with you, right? But then there's a difference between that and then now showing people that, okay, I'm shooting any and every. So I struggled initially when I started photography to find my signature, like I said, like my brand. So how will it was something I was always trying to be like, okay, if I see like my colleagues now, Steven Tyler, Daniel Obasi, I don't need to check the credits. I know their picture from the start, like once you see it. So I was always like, that is my goal. I want to do that. And I struggled. And I tried a couple of things, So I was like, okay, what is my narrative? What is my story? What is my niche? What do I want? How do I want to make that like thing, right? So I met Tokyo, and he just opened my eyes, and we did a shoot where we put to me, I like water. I like and I love like colors, and I like ease. Like my vibe is very, very just like soft, right? I don't like anything that's like stress that's not my. So sometimes when I shoot models, I like to or the photos I check that I end up selecting are just like it's not really like it's the essence. It doesn't look too posy. It doesn't look too staged. It doesn't look like I'm waiting to take your picture. Do you get what I mean? So it's like more or less the essence. So I discovered that was like my niche. So we had a shoot and we put this model, bless him, in Chevron, one uncompleted building like this. There was like a swamp, there was a water like still water though, but it wasn't really clean. And we were like, okay, please, I need you to walk into this swamp water. And the model was like, I can't really, how much I could pay me? So I say, if I can't catch something and then, and then he did it, and the photo, that was my first like viral photo. It was, when I say everywhere, the photo was everywhere. And then I was on a class, like a photo, like a boot camp thing with like other photographers. And then I heard everybody speak and be like, okay, I chose this photo. So they were supposed to come and like explain your photo and your selection, right? So everybody would come and be like, I chose this photo because, the red represents, the danger of the black man. Everybody had like story. And me, I'm in this career, I told myself two things. I never want to lose myself, and I want to be honest. Yeah. So I went there, I was like, I like the picture because it made sense for him to enter the water because of what I was trying to convey. So what I realized then was that although these things I was just doing that I didn't think they were things, they meant, if you check like my whole like camera roll, or like photos I've selected, indirectly I have had like my own signature because those are the ones that I'm drawn to, right? Yeah. So it was from then, after I had that conference and I saw everybody speak, and then I told them, I was like, I just chose it because I really liked it, and it was, so the moderator guy sat me down and like grilled me like, no, think again, like, why did you like this picture? Let me see the film of the whole thing you shot. So I noticed that the rest of the other ones, it wasn't his face was different, his face was strong, so like it was the one where he was more like at ease. It didn't look like a photo, it looked like literally this boy just chilling in the pool, and like that was why I picked that. So that experience made me go back to the drawing board to be like, okay, listen, although everything is not really although I've been acting without intention like that, if you go back and look at yourself and look at your work, there's a reason why, let's say, this brand picks this blue color, because blue might represent something. Do you get what I mean? So there's a reason. So that experience more or less just made me, now if I'm shooting, I prep. And I say, okay, what is the color of the fit? Like if I'm doing not a client work, like if I'm doing like my personal project, right? I always, okay, what story am I trying to convey? Even in like doing brands and logos and stuff, what do colors mean? What color represents this? What color represents that? There's like a whole color chart thing and everything. So like that just taught me to go back to the drawing board and not just be like operating on like vibes, and like let there just be an intention behind it. And then one more thing I want to say, I feel like differentiated me from my colleagues. So I look at art, like photography, the same way designers do collections. So what I mean by that is every year I challenge myself to bring out something. So during the pandemic, I was just always shooting for everybody. It's easy to like now be one of those people who you're just like a machine. You're just shooting for everybody. You're not shooting for yourself. So I always challenge myself like, okay, each year I'm going to do a personal body of work and then bring out. So like, it's just then you know that, okay, this is my own thing. I didn't shoot, you get what I mean? Like, this is me, this is what I can produce. So I feel like that is very, very, very like, essential.
Yeah. Thank you, Mikey. Please, you guys can clap. Thank you so much for that. So, Simi, same question to you.
Please take the question again.
Okay, great. No problem. Do you have a real life experience that showed you the value of branding?
Okay, yes. I'll talk about pricing. So when we first started, I knew that I wanted to position the magazine as a luxury magazine. And I knew that we were going to be investing a lot in photo shoots and producing original content. And I remember at the time when we started, magazines in Nigeria typically were about 500 naira. And I thought, okay, with everything that we're putting together, this magazine, when you actually look at it, when you see the quality and you see the effort that's gone into it, 500 naira is not going to do it. And I started thinking to myself, okay, how am I going to get around this? What is this? Is our customers going to appreciate this? And I did my research, spoke to some industry experts, and everybody said, look, this magazine that you've produced is actually worth 3,000 naira. It's not even 1,005. So I put 1,005 on it, and by the time we launched into the market, everybody was not only were they like, oh wow, this is 1,005, I would pay 3,000 for it. So in that sense, we were able to over deliver, and we were able to take the work that we have done, and we're able to put it in a way, in a package that our customers appreciated. So in that sense, we were able to show that our brand was able to give the
that
standard that was, and give the value that we expected.
That's a wonderful experience, because you also come to see that when you price above market, right? In itself, it is a strategy, because people are, why are you 1.5 and everybody else is 500? What's this thing about you? And because of that, they will look at the product.
Sorry, and also I
keep
just
going.
have to say, backing off what Buchi said, like she said, it's very important that if you now say that you're 1.5, the product and the service has to match that. Definitely. Or even go over it. So you can't say that you're 1.5 and you're giving me. Yeah,
because if they look at it and it's 1.5 and they see 500 naira value, they will throw your 1.5 away, and they'll remember that your brand, right? They remember that your brand was lying to them practically, right? So it's always it's very strategic to price above market value, but also to deliver more value than what your product is taken. So, Papa, we'll ask the question for you now. Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I do. And so I'm going to answer it a little bit differently, because I think I'm stuck a little bit between all these spaces, because we work for clients, we also produce our own ideas, and I think there's a thing that people don't talk about, which is sometimes be careful what you ask. We had so maybe about 12 years ago, we did a project that was really, really successful, really, really successful. And it opened up so many doors. But it was not the worst thing that happened to us, but as an organization, and as an organization that was trying to be something, it took us a long time to recover, because the success of that project sort of, I guess, branded us, and sort of took our own voice away from us. And everybody was like, oh my God, you guys are doing so well, I can't believe you need to do this. And it became really contentious when you are now telling people, no, but this is not what I'm about. I'm not interested in this. Yeah. And it took us a very, very long time to sort of re-wheel away from that. So one of the things I'm always saying to people is you know what, it's sometimes better to just be quiet. And when you do want something, be really sure it's what you want, because it can brand you. We're talking about branding here, but you can also be branded, as something, or in something that may not allow you to grow in the future, but also maybe out of your, like, we're human beings and people forget that, and you want to be in a space that allows you to define your own path, your own growth. And I think when I'm always saying this ABB, it sounds cheesy, but it's also about a personal thing, You need to allow yourself the space to build and always be careful about being defined by something that can be really successful but not necessarily resonate with who you really want to be and be seen as. So that's the thing. And the second thing is, so like, when we finally got round about 6 years ago, it happened again, but this time for a client. So we were approached by this really big international client to do a project from them. And from the onset, like, I don't want to say ethically, because it's nothing that deep, but there was a sort of misalignment in value systems. But, from a business point of view, you were like, man, working with this organization is really going to like do it for us, and it was the worst mistake we made. Like, the project was super successful, but like it killed us internally, you know what I mean? It was like, we were there. I always remember the opening day of this event, and it was like in the Lara, super fancy. And the company director flew in, gave this speech, and like I left. Because I was just like, fuck, sorry. I was just like, man, like, I can't believe we're going to associate ourselves with this organization. Not that they're like evil or anything. It was just totally, like, the things that they were saying were so against who we were as an organization. Yeah. And it was like, these are not the kind of clients we want to work for. Yeah. And again, that now like put us in a situation where people were like, we want you to do what you did for them. And we're like, no.
Never again.
So I just shared those two stories from a personal point of view, but also from working from somebody else.
Thank you for those stories. Okay, so this is the final question, and this is more of like a little exercise that we're all going to do together. And we're doing this because of, again, the entrepreneurs in the audience and the startup founders in the audience. And I think this will be really helpful for them. So we're going to create all together a 5-step guide. And it's a 5-step guide. We are 5 people, so each of us would add one thing to this guide, right? And it's a 5-step guide on what it takes to build a successful brand. We've heard a lot of these things in all of the conversations that we've had. But I don't know how good you guys are at writing notes, but I don't think anybody has a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So I want to give you this opportunity to create that, right? So I will start with something that Buchi said, and something that Papa reiterated. And I'm starting with know yourself. Know what your business does, know what you value, put those values into your business. Do not come off as don't be so focused on the money that you decide to like present as somebody else, right? And learn yourself, be introspective, learn who you are, pour that into your business, let your business speak the same value that you speak. Hopefully those are good values. But so that's step 1, know yourself. So I'm going to start from Buchi again. But you don't be mad at me. I always keep coming back to you. But what would step 2 be?
So if step 1 is know yourself, then step 2 is what is your unique selling points? So you know your purpose, you know your reason for being. What are you bringing to the table? What are you going to do and how are you going to do it? And most importantly, how are you going to do it differently from how other people do it? And within that bucket, there are a variety of things that you need to do. A lot of people forego research because they think they know. And people will say, well, I want to do bags. I do bags great. But is there a market for your bags? Who else is creating bags? How are they creating it? What are they pricing it at? Who is buying it? Those customers, what do they want? So really actually understanding your unique selling points, I think, is key. because that is what is going to allow you to set yourself aside from everyone else.
Thank you, Buchi. Mikey?
For me, she threw me off. I'm like, because I was to say like something deep, and then I would say this is the honest for me. I would just be like, be willing to do the work, be willing to sacrifice a lot of things. Because sometimes I get in my head and I'm like, oh my god, but like I always forget. I always remember my why, like why I started this journey, what I wanted to do. So going along, there are going to be great days. There are going to be successful times. There are going to be like, but also there are going to be like days where you ask your existential crisis, like what is going on? Like everything you would really want to, like you would have those days where you want to quit, literally, and go and find something else. So always be willing to put in the work, because sometimes you might see all of us here, you think it's like all of us have it, it's great, it's easy. Everybody has what they're dealing with right now. We have emails, do you get what I mean? So yeah. I always just want to say the work is not, like how I say, the journey is great. Like always fall in love with the journey and like always be able to do the work.
Thank you, Mikey. Simi?
Okay, so I'm just going to give you literally steps. So I would say step 3, create your logo, have colors to it, have a font, do a research of the kind of fonts that you like, your color palette, make sure that it's something striking. I also say work on a tagline, a slogan for your business. So for SCHICK, for us, we always say celebrating African style and beyond. So we've had that from inception. It's important to us. So find something that is important to you, make it your tagline, and kind of keep that as your promise to your brand and your business, and let that drive what you do.
Thank you, Simi. Papa? You can also include the ones that anybody might have missed. So you can get to. You can get to 10.
I got a few. I think like one of the things that is really important is like if you don't know how to do something, find somebody who does. Like don't play. Do not play with that. Like everyone, there's a tendency to say, "Oh, that one I can do that one now." Is it not just coloring in or drawing logo? If you did not go to school to do this thing, don't try it. Second thing is understand the power of ideas. Ideas change the world, right? And I think Mikey mentioned it. Like, really ask yourself, does this thing make sense? In our office, we have this thing called Open Studio Fridays, where we invite creatives to just come, just like show their work, have a conversation, because our community is really important in building whatever it is that you're trying to build, your brand. And I think with the advent of social media, our community, I can see some people here, I can see some Sheila here, and you should try and grab that woman with the blue turban, because that's somebody that really understands the power of community. And I think when you're building a brand and you build a community around that brand, and it starts with your friends, but it extends to other people you don't know, it really helps. It helps you do less work, because now people are doing the work for you. So that's the third thing, build community. And I think the final thing that I would like to add is that, be prepared to work very, very hard. I think people underestimate the importance of hard work, and the fact that, hard work, I would say 8 out of 10 times, if you're working hard, you'll pretty much get to where you need to go. Everybody here is sort of excited. Mike is probably somebody you should all rugby tackle, because he's just joking, but the guy works really, really, really hard. So those are the things that I would.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for all of your insights and all the information. I have learned a lot. We're going to probably steal your Friday idea in our studio in Ibadan. and pull creatives as well. I've learned from Buchi, I've learned from Mikey, I've learned from Simi. Thank you so much. So now we're going to turn to the audience. If you have any questions, everybody is willing to help and answer. I see one hand already. Anybody else you have a question as well? That's 2, 3, 12, 4, 5. Okay, I don't think we're living here today. That's 6, that's 7. All right, that's 8. You have a question? Okay.
I'm not sure you have time to answer all these
I don't
questions.
think.
You're getting.
They are saying we have to. We can answer 2 questions.
2 questions.
Okay, let me try and push it a little. Let's make it 3. Okay, so who are the first? I can't remember the first 3 anymore. Okay, I'll pick the lady in the blue turban. 1. Who else? I'll pick the lady in front. 2, and I would pick the man at the back. 3. Okay. The lady here, the lady there, and the gentleman at the back.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my name is Modupe. Mike said work for free. So what if working for free actually has, maybe you're working for free, you have a target, but the person you're working for doesn't want to bring out that star in you, wants you to always work for free. Like, how do you go about that?
Wants to take advantage of you.
Okay, so I believe strongly in working smart, not working hard. Because working smart yields results, right? So when I say work for free, I don't mean just go out here and be any work free labor, no child. So what I mean by that is, so for example, now let's say today is my first day in photography and I'm trying to be a photographer, right? So I will see either a magazine, I'll be like, hey guys, I'm trying to get my work out there. I'm like, well, we don't have money for you, but this is your first shot. It's the cover of the magazine. And let's say it's not like Abani Darego now that you're shooting. Now, I am having 2 things. I'm shooting the cover and I'm shooting Abani Darego on my portfolio. That makes sense, right? As my first day in photography, I've gained. So when Agbani Darego posts me on her Instagram, Agbani Darego's clients will look at my work. When she posts me on her Instagram, her clients are gonna look at me. That is, I feel like, the only situation where I would work for free that would make sense. Not I want to work for free. My friend that wants to be a model that nobody knows will not be like, no, listen. What I mean by that is, I'm not saying you can't collaborate. That's a different thing, right? But know what you're doing. Don't now go there thinking, oh my God, this free work. Or because I notice sometimes people take advantage of you in this industry where they will look like, okay, you want to get free work, come on. No, and I feel like how you approach people, and if you put price and respect yourself, I know, like, no, I'm not going to do that. There's sometimes you walk away from opportunities. That's great, but at the end of the day, know what you want out of this situation. Shooting a Brian Darego in my first year, that's great. That's what I mean. Like, you always have to table it to yourself and say, okay, is this an opportunity that I can? I call it, this is. I always say you have to kiss the frog to find the prince, right? So this is like a frog you're kissing to now eventually find your prince, which is money. Do you understand? So that's the only reason why I say you can work for free. Not that, not going to say it's me that told you to come working for free. No.
I think even saying work for free is confusing. You're saying you're not working for financial compensation. You're working for something. You're working for exposure. You're working for access. You're working to build your reputation.
Yeah.
You're working for something.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're working with someone but you're not getting anything in return, then you're working for free.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification, Buchi. That was really good. Mikey said something I was going to speak to really quickly. He said you need to be able to say no to some opportunities. And it's something I read and I really stand by. The more no's you say, the more valuable your yes becomes. Yeah, right? Yeah. So if you have, like you said, work smart. Like if you put out your Instagram today, oh, I'm going to do whatever it is I do, whether it is photography, whether it is being making for free, you will get 50 DMs immediately, right? So you need to now be able to decide who deserves this, who's going to serve me, who's going to help me, and make your choice. And in making that choice, right? Anybody else that missed out understands they have to work to get to a point where they can get in, right? So that exclusivity just adds value to your yes. So I just wanted to add that to what Mikey said. So thank you for that, Mikey. Who's the next person asking a question? Yes, please.
All right. So thank you very much for everything. It was nice. So I have a question I want to ask. So you talked about the fact that branding is a signature, obviously. So, but I also talked about standing out. Here, the question is for you. So there are a lot of photographers out there, and talking about have to do something that's unique to you. It's not. I don't know how to explain it, but there are a lot of people out there. So how are you going to be unique? I think it's all about connect or something these days.
I'll say it's about mindset. I walk into the room knowing I'm one of one. And I know that if you're coming to me for what I can give you and nobody else can give you. That's my approach to life. Do you understand? So obviously there are a lot of photographers, there are a lot of people, but I believe my source is different. So that's how it's a mind thing. So I don't want you starting a brand thinking, every year there are breakout stars. There are a lot of people doing music. Do you understand? So if you have that mindset of, how will I really know? If you believe in what you're doing, know your why, know what you're starting, and believe that your product is something the world needs, if you put in the work, it's literally math. Hard work, it will pop. So that's just what I feel. I don't bother around what other photographers are doing or what they're doing. No, I focus on my own. I do me. So I believe that whenever anybody comes and says, "Hi, I want to shoot you," it's because you've seen what I like, what is on my page. I know that in this whole of this world, it's only me that can give it to you. So that's how I do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. Does anybody else want to add to the answer? Or Papa, Simi, Uchi? Okay. Thank you. Are you satisfied with that? Thank you. And the last person, the young man with the...
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Please, I want to ask a question about rebranding. Okay, in situations where you have actually presented the public with something for a long time with a logo that you're not so proud of, and along the line you got exposed and you want to change it, how is that going to affect the brand, and how do you go about changing it?
Okay. So who are you asking specifically?
I'm asking him, sorry, I don't know his name, I'm sorry. Thank you.
He's asking you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think it's like I was saying that, individuals, we change, products change. So I think there is an understanding, within the wider consumer space that, brands change. I think if you look at MTN, for instance, right, with their recent rebranding, you guys all seen MTN's new logo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But you can also see what happened, just by seeing the new logo. You can understand how the organization is now seeing itself. It's sort of moving from this idea of us being like a telco business that is really interested in this transactional space to now kind of starting to understand there's a sophistication now that they're trying to say that we have a little bit more self-awareness, but beyond that, we're wanting to engage outside of telco. We want to start seeing ourselves as a digital media, organization that is more than just one thing. And you can see that in how they move their branding. Or maybe it's just me reading.
No, I can see it. I can see it too.
But it's there, and it's very, very intentional. And it's, they're about to launch this massive new, product. And when it comes out, you'll be able to see why. So I think if you are about to rebrand, or if you want to rebrand, there has to be a reason for it. There has to be a turning point. You have to decide, if we do this, it's because of something that we want to change, not just about the logo, but almost about the entire organization and how we want people to interact with it. So that would be my advice. Just make sure it's very, very intentional.
Okay. And sorry, I'll just quickly say, have a game plan for release. So what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine had a brand and wanted to change. So the name of the brand is, somebody else had the other name, and then she found out that later after she started the brand. So she went back to the drawing board, changed the name, changed everything, and now had a social media thing. So she messaged all our friends, everybody, Friday 9 o'clock, please repost my thing. So if you're gonna do that, have a like, don't now change and not be quiet and not just leave it and imagine as in, have a plan to now like release it and like to the new York, because you're reintroducing yourself. So you go back to how you started initially. Every marketing like thing you did the first time, you have to do it times 2 again. So.
Okay, so thank you. That's all.
Sorry,
Simi?
I wanted to add, and for this type of thing, use your network, because I know, Mikey, just picking up what Mikey said, use your network, use your friends, get the word out as much as you can. And don't shy away from asking your friends to help you share and repost your new logo. Don't be quiet about it. Yeah, use your network as much as you can.
Okay, so that's all the time we have. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you guys for everything you said. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you guys gained a lot from it. I hope you guys learned a few things. I hope you guys have notes. I hope you wrote things down. So enjoy the rest of the fair, guys.